Mayor Jon Nehring, and I want to welcome you to the historic Marysville Opera House. This is our only building in the city that's on the historic register. We're really proud of it, and really excited to do my State of the City speech here tonight in this building, and hope you enjoy the presentation. It's a once-a-year opportunity to talk about what's going on in Marysville in this past year, what's coming in 2019, so it's a great opportunity for me to communicate with all the residents and businesses in the community, and hopefully you find it interesting. And if you have any questions at all, you can always email or call me, and happy to answer those. So enjoy the speech, and thanks for tuning in. So we called this presentation this year, and you'll see Marysville by the numbers. I think it's helpful for us to look back on the community and kind of take a look at it by numbers and stats. So you'll see there the population that we're at, over 68,000, and 17th largest city in the state, second largest in Snohomish County. So it's interesting, if you've lived in Marysville for a long time, like I'm sure a number of you have, and me and my family have, things have changed a lot over the last decade even, but certainly over the last 20 to 30 years. And so there's a lot of great things with that, some challenges, and so we'll talk about how we're coping with those different things here tonight. We always like to start at least a little bit with budget. Nothing happens in any city without your city budget, and we want to be accountable and transparent with your tax dollars each and every year. And so this pie chart here gives you an idea of where the revenue comes from. As you can see, property taxes account, I think, for 35%, 27% from sales tax, and it breaks down from there. The nice thing about our expanded sales tax base is it relieves some of the pressure on property taxes. Your city council has not even taken the 1% allotted by state law for about a decade now. So with the increase in businesses in our community, and some of our friends here tonight that we have that own those businesses, that has taken some of the pressure off of the property taxes here in the community. So that's a good thing for the taxpayer. This chart gives you a good idea of where the money comes from. And I also want to point out that our financial team, led by Sandy Langdon, really does yeoman's work to make sure that our finances are in good, solid order. We stay off the front page of the paper. They received another clean financial audit, which they've gotten for a number of years here in the city. Also, they're very skilled at managing our debt. We issued 2 new bond sales earlier this year in order to save money on our city debt. So Sandy and her team are really good about finding out when the interest rates are looking at maybe creeping up or when they're low, and we try and deal in that manner to save the taxpayers a lot of hard-earned money. We also got a bond increase last year, our rating increase last year, which allows us to get cheaper debt as well. So after finances, we're going to spend a significant amount of time on public safety. You know, when I'm out in the community, the one thing I hear, well, I hear a number of things, but one thing that I hear is that the top priority of our citizens, for the most part, whether it's businesses or residents, is public safety. And really, as a core service of government, you have to do public safety well. You have to prioritize it. And so we'll dig into that, and that includes police, includes our fire and EMS, includes the courts as well. So 2/3 of your general fund tax dollars go to public safety. When I say general fund, so you've got your fee services, your water, sewer, garbage, and things like that. That actually represents about 2/3 of your entire city budget. We have a $352 million 2-year budget. We do 2-year budgets. So it's a $352 million budget. About 2/3 of that is your fees, water, sewer, garbage, and things of that nature. The other 115 million is what's called the general fund. That's what we use for streets, police, fire, EMS, courts, parks, all the other things that you enjoy in the city. And so 2/3 of that is dedicated to public safety. And it's that way in most communities. Usually it's 65 to 70% of the dollars go to public safety, because that's really where the priority of a core service of governing is. I want to share a number with you, a stat up there, it should be up there, that shows that crime dropped last year thanks to the great work of Chief Smith and his officers, 7.58%. And yeah, let's give them a hand for the hard work our police do. You know, nobody focuses harder in this county, probably in this state, than the chief and his team on driving crime stats down. If you look at that 4 or 5 year trend there, they've slowly been trickling down. I remember the chief about 4 years ago came in and said, I have a goal of dropping crime 20% in the community. And Gloria and I were, I think, we were very pleased with that goal, but wondering, wow, is that really possible? And over these last 4 to 5 years, we've seen that happen. Doesn't mean we don't have crime issues. We're not saying that. Doesn't mean there's not areas in the community where we need to get better. There's some areas where crime's going up, but there's a lot of areas where it's going down, and that's a real credit to the strategic implementation at the top by the chief and his command staff, and then the folks on the streets carrying that out. And that's a testament to the respect and the trust they have in their leadership team. So categories where crime has decreased is burglaries, malicious mischief, theft, and vehicle prowl. There are a couple areas where it's gone up, assaults and robberies. So those are areas where we'll focus more. I will tell you, burglaries is interesting. Chief and I meet on these crime stats all the time. I'm obviously very passionate about public safety, as obviously he is, but that's a core service of government. I remember about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, we would sit and go over these burglary numbers that kept going up. Home burglaries, up. We had one where, I don't know if you remember the funeral burglar. People would be going to a funeral, and people would figure out who the relatives were, and they'd go break into the homes during that, things of that nature. So the team started implementing all kinds of things, a property crimes unit, which we'll talk a little more about, and just focusing on we're going to drive burglaries down. And now that's one of the real success stories. Almost every report that comes out shows burglaries dropping in our community. So kudos to the team there. In order to do that, you have to have an adequate police force. And I want to thank the City Council for really stepping up and funding new police officer positions on a consistent basis, particularly the last 3 years. And here you see one of the badge pinnings we had recently. But we do have we got 4 more in the last budget that are budgeted. And even at the end of last year, we already had budgeted 2 positions, and the council gave us 2 more in December. And we're filling a lot of open positions. So we're in a position now where we feel we'll be fully staffed here over the next couple of years. And so one of the things our PD does in addition to crime fighting is they conduct active shooter trainings. They've done about 24 of those, including helping with the Navy, the City of Arlington, school districts, businesses, and churches. And so they do things of that nature, and they also do a lot of things within our school district. We'll talk a little bit about that with our SROs, but we're very active in our schools, which is a key priority. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is the embedded social worker program, and I want to spend some time on that this evening. So this is something that we implemented in the spring of 2018. So the stats that I'm going to give you are the first 7, maybe 8 months at the most that this team was in play. And it took them a couple months to even get up and running. So it's really 6 or 7 months of stats. And so when the chief and I sat down and we took a look at this program, and I think we set a goal of helping 12 people in the first year get into inpatient treatment. Maybe we'd get 20, we didn't know. But the idea behind the embedded social worker program is this. It's not lost on anybody that we've got a drug problem in this country. A serious heroin and opioid epidemic problem throughout the United States. And it exists in Marysville. Fortunately, we don't have it near the degree that, say, Seattle or Tacoma has it, or Vancouver, BC. But everywhere you go throughout this country, when I go to the council and I go to a National League of Cities conference, we'll be there in a couple of weeks in Washington, D.C. I guarantee you there will be classes and programs on the opioid epidemic that's ravaging communities all throughout the nation. And so, anytime you look at this problem in our community, you realize there's a lot of communities, even our size, that are dealing with this on a lot greater level. Nevertheless, we want to attack it at its core. So we're tough on crime in this community, and we don't apologize for that. If you're committing crimes, we're coming after you, and that's always been our philosophy. We also realize this, that if you're addicted to a substance, we can keep putting you in jail, and you'll get out, and you'll go back out, and you'll do the same thing. We'll put you in jail, and we'll do that expensive, never-ending cycle that never really fixes the problem. It temporarily fixes it, but doesn't fix it in the long term. So the idea behind this is, let's get a social worker embedded with a police officer. Let's send them out into these places, these camps where we know these folks are that are addicted to substances, and let's offer them a way out of that lifestyle. So that's what they do. They go out, they build a relationship. Often it's 5, 6, 7 visits. Take them to a Starbucks, take them to McDonald's. I went out with this team. We took a kid out of the woods, took him to McDonald's, talked to him, took another one out, and got some coffee with them and sat down. So I've seen how these guys operate. After there's a little bit of trust built, you will get some people that they're just tired of that lifestyle. What our goal is then is to get them into detox, get them dried up, and then get them into a 30 or 60-day program that will really get at the crux of their situation, get them into some transitional housing, and then hopefully some type of training and on into a life of at least partial self-subsistence. And that way, they're no longer a burden to you in the community. They have the dignity back of their person and can have a real life again. And everybody moves forward. So that's a compassionate way to look at it for the individual that's suffering the addiction, also for the community that's suffering from their behavior. But I want to also be clear on one thing, and the chief and I share this philosophy very closely, is that we feel obligated to offer this type of assistance because it's morally the right thing to do. It's right for you. You don't want your tax dollars spent on this person cycling in and out of jail for the next several decades. So it's morally the right thing to do. It's the more efficient way to handle the problem, and it helps to decrease the situation that we're facing. But what is the clear message to our officers, from the chief, from myself, from everybody, is this. As this team meets with these individuals, there has to be progress, right? You have to, at some point, make a commitment to say, I want the help and I'm going to get the help. If we've had 6, 7, 8 meetings and we're 3, 4, 5 months into this or whatever, and the police officer and the embedded social worker determine, you know what, we're just getting the runaround here, then we shift into a different mode. And we say, okay, we're pulling that team out, and we send the patrol team in, and we're going to deal with this on a criminal basis. So if you have outstanding warrants, things of that nature, you're now going to jail. And the offer is off the table. And so you have to have a carrot and stick approach here. You have to have the ability to say, look, we're going to give you the time, we're going to build the relationship, but at some point you have to take the offer. You can't keep sleeping under the bridge. You can't keep breaking into Kohl's or Target or wherever. You can't keep passing out in front of Starbucks so that the 16-year-old girls that come into work the next morning have to stumble over you and those type of things. We don't tolerate that in this community. So we're going to offer you a way out, but you have to take it, or we're going to deal with you from a police end. So that's kind of our commitment to the community, public safety-wise, and then also to help these individuals. So I am so proud to say, as we look at some stats here, I don't know if these are on there, but I'll read them off to you. So far in those first 7 to 8 months, we've had 118 chemical dependency assessments completed by this team, 43 detoxes. We enrolled 46 individuals in inpatient treatment. 50 individuals got housing secured for them. Total encounters by this team are 993 and 160 new clients overall. And I think that deserves a hand, yeah. Those numbers are far beyond anything I expected. It's a testament to that embedded social worker team and the whole police unit, because everybody out there on the streets deals with this. Our officers see this, they'll call the embedded social worker team in and we'll attack it from that end. So we have seen a decrease in our population that is suffering from this addiction and committing crime and whatnot. Problems still exist. I'm not naive. We still have this problem. We'll have it for this foreseeable future, but we're putting a dent in it in this community. And I've actually heard, I've gotten calls as mayor from mothers, ex-spouses, and who have said, man, we heard about your program. My son is in your jail. We told him about this program. We told him we've had it. You get help in this program or you're done, and he wants to meet with your embedded social worker team. And I'll contact the chief and we'll send someone in. We had a guy over in the Snohomish County Jail, same thing. He's from Marysville, ex-spouse, says he's ready to get help. And so, I'm getting calls, even sitting in the executive office, from people that have heard about this program and the help that those people that have gotten, and they want to get in on it. So it's a great thing. Doesn't mean we don't have a lot of work to do. Doesn't mean we won't have people relapse or any of that, but at least we feel like we're putting a dent in it. So moving on to the other end of things, we had 3,243 people who were booked into custody, a 16% increase over 2017. That's not a stat that we would say, hey, great, we increased 16% the amount of people we put in jail. But for you as a resident, what it tells you is your officers are out getting bad guys off the streets. And so from that standpoint, it is a good thing. But we're hopeful that we won't need to do that in future years. Code enforcement is something else I wanted to talk about. You know, when I'm out in the community, this is one of the things I hear about a lot too. Can we clean up Marysville? And the city council and I have heard about this and have prioritized it. And I think we've made some real headway. The code enforcement team is dedicated to cleaning up things that are eyesores in our community. It's generally a responsive unit when they hear a complaint, but they also do proactive sweeps of primarily things like old cars that have been sitting on the roadway or unlicensed, things of that nature. Code enforcement in general has opened 448 cases. 443 have been closed, which is remarkable. There's a little over 90 cases that are active. Some of those are longstanding cases that have been reopened to follow up on and things of that nature. There's been 768 criminal citations and infractions. So what these are, this is designed to deal with the real eyesores, right? The houses you drive by and it's like there's garbage piled up on the side of the yard, in the front yard, cars parked everywhere, rusted out. You know, those kind of properties you drive by and go, gee, I really don't want that in my community. I'd like that cleaned up. It's not designed to pester people that, you know, have just stacked something out in their front yard for a few days so they can get rid of it. That's not what this is about. This is about the folks that are just being irresponsible or the businesses that are being irresponsible. And generally, we get voluntary compliance. That's the goal. And these guys will go a long ways to just say, hey, can you clean this up? And if they say, hey, I need 30 days, fine. Just, you know, can you make some progress? That's all your neighbors are asking. So anyway, it's a great team doing great work. I mentioned the school resource officers. This is critical. You know, obviously, as we look around the state and the nation and here in Marysville, we want our kids protected in the schools, and one way we can help with that is our school resource officers. I want to thank the school district for stepping up and putting a lot of money towards this program as well. Jason and Thompson and his team deserve a lot of credit for that. These guys have done anti-bullying courses. 58 local cyberbullying classes have been given, reaching almost 2,000 students. Anti-suicide awareness is something they focus on in our schools, particularly our middle and high schools. We've had tragic instances of suicide in our community and other communities as well, and so we try and make sure our youth have hope and friends and connections at all levels that they can count on. And then one of our most popular units is the K-9 unit. On Facebook, nobody gets more attention than our K-9 unit. Always love it when we get a post of a takedown there. 356 cases in 2018, 198 of them patrol. They successfully tracked 54% on that. 157 of them were narcotics cases, and they retrieved meth, heroin, cocaine, all kinds of drug paraphernalia, $60,000 in currency, and 7 firearms. So the dogs are earning their money, aren't they? Yeah, give the dogs a hand. If you've ever been to a night out against crime event or something like that where the dogs are there, you know how fun it is to watch those presentations, especially if you've got kids or grandkids. Bring them out to one of those and our team will show you how they take someone down, and it's phenomenal. They're just great animals. So I talked about regional property crimes. We formed a few years ago under the chief's leadership a regional property crimes unit with Marysville, Snohomish County, Lake Stevens, Granite Falls, and Darrington. It's housed out of our police department, which is great. And the chief had a lot of vision behind this, and the command staff, that, you know, criminals don't know boundaries. They don't know Lake Stevens. They really don't care. All they're looking for is an easy place to commit crime. And so by getting this unit together, we help band together and we pick these people up that may have been plaguing Marysville while they're in Lake Stevens or vice versa. So it's been important working together. They recovered over $350,000 worth of property on behalf of crime victims this past year, and have solved, made 970 arrests. So that's remarkable. Far more than we could do individually. Regional teams, community coming together, partnerships are really what gets things done in government, even in public safety. Byron and Kim are here. They run our, or they're part of our Marysville Volunteer Patrol, and they run our Neighborhood Watch Group. And so I want to thank all the 22 volunteers in the Marysville Volunteer Patrol who gave over 4,000 hours of public service to the community this year. Give them a hand, yeah. When you see those cars around the school zones, that's usually an MVP member, a volunteer that's just driving a police, through the school zones, making sure everybody sees a marked car so they slow down and things of that nature. They do house checks if you're on vacation. You can call our police department and you'll get house checks from them. I've done that myself. And so park checks and all kinds of different things. That really appreciate what these guys do. And Byron and Kim are now up to 50 total neighborhood watch groups in our community, which is remarkable. So thanks for that work. And if you want a neighborhood watch group, see one of these two after the presentation tonight. So Chief McFalls and his team, we've got some of our other fire team here this evening, do such fantastic work in our community. We contract with the Marysville Fire District and for fire and EMS services in our community. And as you can see there, the call load was over 14,000 this year, 14,158, 87% EMS. So a lot of emergency medical services delivered, and then of course fire suppression. Their response time on average is under 7 minutes, 6 minutes and 49 seconds, which is phenomenal. And so we appreciate greatly the work they do. They're hiring up as well. 5 new firefighters here this past year. They had almost 17,000 annual training hours. And they graduated 8 from a new Snohomish County Fire Academy, which Chief McFalls, I remember he was talking about doing this and the vision behind it, to get people through a local academy and get it through quicker than depending on the state academy. And he was very influential in making that a reality, and we got to graduate 8 of our folks through that. And so, and also participated in building the curriculum and all for that program. 2 graduated from the State Fire Academy, and 2 graduated from a year-long paramedic program at Harborview to serve here in this community. This team also formed a new rapid entry rescue swimmer team, which is critical in the summer months. I know we've had some tragedies in some of the waterways around, so it's great to see that team formed here. And then on the next page, you see the chief and I bathing a new fire engine. That was the first time I'd ever been a part of that. That was fun. I think I appreciated the invitation, and so got a couple new engines in, and so it's great to see that. Fire inspections completed were about 1,600, and then public education, they reached about 6,000 with public education around fire safety. And after years of negotiations and talks with different entities, we had Arlington, Fire District 12 in the city of Marysville, and then Fire District 12 in the city of Marysville. I'm pleased to say that the city council and the fire district have voted to take the idea of an RFA to the voters in April. That'd be a regional fire authority. So that's really something that needs to happen to properly finance and manage our fire services into the future. Most cities and entities are going to regional fire authorities. You saw a big one in South County. It's just, again, it gets kind of back to the regional property crimes idea that we had with crime. This is kind of combining forces to form a regional fire and EMS service for your community. There'll be more resources, a greater group to draw from. And so that'll be before you in April. If you want more information on that, Connie, I believe we have information here. You can pick up some more information on that, educational information, and look through it and make the decision yourself on what you think. Municipal courts is the last area of public safety I wanted to talk briefly about. Our court handles cases for Marysville, Arlington, and Lake Stevens. 61% of the cases, though, are from Marysville. And we issued 441 search warrants for our law enforcement agencies. 59% of those were Marysville. And they also started a mental health court this year, which was great, an innovative way to help people with some of the mental health issues that are struggling. And also 6 extreme risk protection orders were issued by our courts. We have our own in-house emergency management team now. With a city of nearly 70,000, we feel that's critical in preparing both our citizenry for emergencies and also the city. We received a $57,000 Emergency Operations Center grant for this from Washington State and Homeland Security. We've conducted through this, Diane and our team have conducted more than 30 preparedness trainings throughout the community, including earthquake preparedness course for Armed Forces Reserve Center. She's gotten in and done what's called Map Your Neighborhood with different neighborhoods so that you know, say if there's a doctor in the neighborhood, a nurse, somebody else who could help with an emergency situation. So the idea being that if there's an emergency, your neighborhood's going to be the first one to come together, right? Government will get there as quickly as they can, but if there's a real emergency, it could be a while until you get assistance, public assistance. And so the Map Your Neighborhood's a great thing to take advantage of. Also, she's put 55 folks in our community through CERT training. And these folks will be better prepared to assist in their neighborhood. And they're kind of a core team throughout the community that we want to keep engaged. Some of them are ham radio operators, things of that nature. So you can also sign up for Marysville alerts. You can subscribe to receive a text or phone message from the city in the event of an emergency. So if you're interested in that, let us know. And you can find that online as well. Infrastructure is something else that I'm very passionate about, and I know a lot of you are too. We're talking roads and all kinds of things. But before that, let's talk a bit about why we need more infrastructure as we continue to grow through our community development department, and you see what they've done. Over 4,400 total permits issued this year, $112 million of combined value of properties in which building permits were issued. And among that is 480 new business licenses. So we're seeing rapid growth in this community in businesses and also in residents, 309 civil plan reviews. And so this is a community that people are coming to. I guess you would call it, all things considered, affordable, although that's relative in today's world. But if you're looking in the South, Marysville's still very affordable. So we have a lot of folks that live here and commute to their jobs and things of that nature. When I saw our median income rise $14,000 in 2017, then you know that a lot of people with jobs are moving here and commuting. So we've got to figure out a way to also provide local jobs is one of our goals, and also provide road infrastructure. When we talk about local jobs, you may have heard about the Manufacturing Industrial Center. Council and I have been, and city staff have been working on this for a number of years. This is an exciting area, actually. It's in North Marysville and South Arlington. So Marysville about 136th through the Arlington Airport area and a little north of that on the east side of State, or Smoky Point Boulevard. It's exciting because we've preserved this. We've had a lot of developers come in and want to just turn this into housing. We said, no, we've got enough areas for housing. We need to preserve some area for a jobs base. So that's what the council's been really diligent about utilizing this for a jobs base. So we've gone through the Puget Sound Regional Council to get this designated as a manufacturing industrial center, which is no easy task. There's only a handful of them throughout the Puget Sound. There was a lot of resistance to this, as you can imagine, in Seattle and Tacoma, where they have kind of a corner on the market. They don't really want to give another designation, and they control most of the seats on the board. But we've worked really hard. Dave Koenig at CD and his team, members of the council, and others in the county, we formed partnerships, have worked hard, and we're on the precipice of getting this declared an MIC, probably by mid-year. We're right to the final voting stage. So what that'll do is free up infrastructure money through federal grants that can be applied to this area for roads and other things. But marketing-wise, it'll really help us, because when people call into the state economic development areas, the MICs are the places where they get shown. So it'll be, hey, here's one up north in Marysville, here's one in Seattle. So we'll be on the map then for those type of industrial jobs, and whether it's medical device companies or biotech or aerospace or whatever it is. So we're really excited about this. Economic Alliance, Snohomish County, Port of Everett, Snohomish County, the council and the executive have really partnered with us and done great work. We also already have interest before the designation even with Roy Robinson RV, an aerospace manufacturer, and another Fortune 50 business. Hopefully you can hear me over the train. We'll talk a little bit about trains here in a bit. The idea behind this is that we want you to be able to live, work, and play in Marysville. I think we do pretty good with the quality of life and the play, the opportunities for recreation. We don't have a lot of high-paying jobs in the community, and that's what this will provide. We were given, and we ran this bill for 3 straight years. Gloria and our city attorney did a really good job helping to craft this bill, which we took 3 straight years to Olympia. It finally got passed. We're one of 4 communities in the entire state that were given the option to offer a property tax break for the city and county portion of the property taxes to a business if they provide family wage jobs. They have to pay at least $18 an hour or more and provide at least 25 jobs. they can receive some property tax break over 10 years. So the idea being, all this land out there, there's nothing on it right now, and there hasn't been anything on it for decades. So they still pay all the taxes on the land, but if they improve the structure they improve, they won't pay the taxes for 10 years on that. Just the city and county portion, the state they will. So that's what we told the state, is like there's been nothing there for decades and there won't be anything there for decades if we don't get something going. So we're not really losing any tax revenue. We're just creating jobs that will create more wealth in the community and more revenue and all of that. And so I think it's a great thing that they gave us, a great tool, and we're excited about putting it to use. So some new businesses that came to town, that's always something people are interested in. 2018 businesses that opened, coming in 2019. So I don't know about the folks that are here today, but about once or twice a week I get asked, when is Chick-fil-A coming, right, Dave? So I always ask Dave, when is Chick-fil-A coming? And well, we're on the way. We don't have a date, but they are ready to go, and so you'll be able to enjoy a Chick-fil-A hopefully in some point in 2019 out there at 88. So we've got that and a number of others coming into Marysville. Continues to be a place. I know Toyota of Marysville there. I'm going to give them a shout out because my friend Jim Collins here, who is one of the owners of Toyota of Marysville. They've come in and just done a fabulous job in our community and are getting great reviews. So a number of great businesses up there. Public Works, I want to move on here to a few things with regards to roads. First of all, I want to thank the citizens. This $1.8 million a year, almost $2 million a year that we get to allocate, that the council allocates each year, goes towards overlays and pavement preservation. You all passed a transportation benefit district that provides that money about 3 years ago. That's really critical. You know, we're going to talk about new roads and new interchanges, but if you don't take care of the roads you have, it gets really expensive in the future. A lot of communities in the recession stopped overlaying and maintaining their roads. Now they're in situations where if they want to deal with that, they have to do a full dig out and something that's infinitely more costly than just doing an overlay. So pumping a couple $1 million into overlays every year saves $10 million in investment in the future to get those same roads fixed. So we're really pleased with that. Sunnyside Boulevard was one you saw last year with about a $500,000 overlay. We've got about almost $500,000 dedicated to intersection improvements and $1.25 million this year towards design on the 88th Street corridor. Eventually 88th Street will need to be dealt with. It's very tricky, you know, with the cemetery and the housing along there, but we did get a grant. We're putting that to use on a design on how we could at some point apply for construction dollars and get that done. I'm really excited about this next one too. The Grove Street overcrossing. The City Council about 2 years ago had a corridor study done to determine where can we deal with the rail traffic and overcrossings and undercrossings. I know I probably say this every year, so if you've been here, bear with me, but when we look at our rail situation, we have a railroad that kind of cuts the city in half. We don't have any grade separation anywhere. It's really difficult in Marysville because at 4th, 88th, and 116th, it's not feasible to do grade separation, to go up or over. On 4th, if you can imagine, you would wipe out access to all those businesses and to Cedar and to Beach. And so it would be well over $100 million to buy all those businesses up and construct a 5-lane overcrossing or whatever. It would be something like a Seattle-style project. It's just not plausible. On 88th, if you were to do it, you got the cemetery, but you also would take people over state because the tracks are right by state. So a lot of people want to get onto state, so now you're taking them over. How do you get them back there? You know, it creates all those problems. Same with 116th. So the one area where we found, in addition to something I'll talk about in a little bit, was at Grove. At Grove Street, we don't have to buy up any properties. It drops you right down by the community transit park and ride. We have a public safety building just to the east, so it's good for our public safety vehicles if there's an emergency on the other side to pop out there. And so we went to the state last year and we got $500,000 dollars just to help with the design. Say, hey, let's get the design ready. One thing we learned from the other transportation projects where we've gotten grant money from is if we design it and then we go back for construction money, we jump right to the front of the line. If you don't design it, it's really hard to go to the state or the feds and say, hey, we want construction money. And they say, well, is it designed? No. Because to them, that means this thing isn't happening for 4 or 5 years. Well, I don't want to give money out when I might not even be in office when the thing's built. That's what that's the reality of what they're thinking. And so, but with this design money, We will get this to 30% design, which is a big hurdle, by this June. We're asking for the rest of the design money this year. And then I've been in conversations, and the city council has as well, with our state reps on construction money. And I believe if there's another package that goes to the legislature, this project will be highly likely that this will be in there. Utilities is another area where we watch carefully. A lot of communities see their water rates go up double digits. Water is really expensive to buy. So if you're not producing your own water and you're buying it, you're paying a lot of money. Why? Because a mayor and a council of a city that sells water says, you know what? I'm going to sell my water to you at a premium so that my citizens don't see an increase and I'm more popular, right? So it only makes sense. So the water we buy, we're trying to decrease. I know in 2010 when I came into office and talked with Kevin and our public works team, I think we were about 50-50. And we set a goal of with the council of, hey, let's perfect water rights, wells, and things of that nature, and let's get that number as high up as we can. I think we're, what, Jeff, to about 70% of our own water we produce now, 75%? And with the Highway 9 investigation of a water source and the Edward Springs replacement of this cover, there's 6.1 million gallons there. We'll get this thing up over 80% here soon, which means that basically we can keep your water rates relatively stable. There might be a couple percent increase here and there, but you're not going to see the huge jumps if we're able to do this that you'd see if we were buying a lot more water from other areas. When we speak of road projects, this is one of my favorite. So the Connecting Washington Transportation Package that came through the state legislature about 3 years ago, council and I and city staff spent a lot of time in Olympia lobbying for Marysville. Marysville had never received much by way of state transportation dollars before. We were a smaller community. It was thought that everything stopped kind of at Everett. Everything after that didn't need any help. And so we went down and educated, and we formed alliances with Economic Alliance, Snohomish County, other cities in the community, and explaining that we're the second largest city in the county. At that point, we were the fastest growing city in the state. We had business growth, residential growth. We went down to the state, to our representatives. We really worked hard at forming relationships. We were represented by 3 legislative districts. We spent a lot of time forming those relationships and just pleaded our case and said, we need help, and we need some dollars to be made up for stuff we haven't had investment in the past. And we got out of that package, there was $700 million for Snohomish County, and $160 million of that came towards Marysville projects, which is remarkable when you think about it, with the Everetts and the Linwoods and of the world. One of the key projects, yeah. One of those key projects is this 529 interchange. When we talk about rail traffic and just traffic in general, so you're going to see an interchange that'll come off I-5 onto 529, or you'll be able to go 529 and get south onto I-5, which means that the exit 199 that comes onto 4th now, which is really a failing intersection, backs up onto the freeway, particularly if there's a train, will start to dissipate. You'll see this traffic. Those that live in Sunnyside or are trying to get to Lake Stevens or Granite Falls, coming through trying to get to 9, a lot of them are going to use this new interchange, freeing up exit 199 and other areas for traffic that's in other areas of our community. It'll be huge from that standpoint to dissipate that traffic and have 2 interchanges where there's only 1 now. It'll also provide you a way in and out of the city around the tracks. So if you just don't want to deal with it, no matter where you live, you can just go over 529 and get south onto I-5 and vice versa coming back into town. So that'll be huge as well. Our first ability to get in and out of the city around the tracks. This is a $45 million project funded by the state of Washington's Connecting Washington package. So that's tax dollars that are coming from the state that could have been spent in other communities. They're coming to your community so that we're leveraging some of that design money we use for this project. So excited about that. You'll probably see some dirt moving maybe a little bit towards the end of this year, and we're looking at construction probably beginning in 2020. It's a 2-year, maybe 3-year window, the way the money's structured. We're ready to go right now, but this was a 16-year package. So it goes all the way to 2035. So we're fortunate we're near the front end on this project. So over the next 2 to 3 years, you'll see this start to become a reality. The other projects are a full interchange at 156th. That's towards the end, the mid-2020s that you'll see. Another project was 116th, which you're already seeing that happen. There's also about $14 million in there for some improvements at 88th to be determined. And another one that I'm excited about that'll happen at the same time as this 529 interchange is they're going to do a hardened shoulder lane on I-5 northbound between North Everett through Marysville. So if you've been on 405 where they have a hardened shoulder lane, what it means is they allow you to drive in that extra lane during peak driving hours. So essentially you'll have an extra lane of I-5 during your commute home that'll take you right off onto this exit. So that'll be something that's very welcomed as well. We've got a few other projects we put up there between 3rd and 80th on State, new signals, 4 upgraded crosswalks, ADA compliant ramps. We're also going to be widening State Avenue from 100th to 104th. And then after that, hopefully from 104th to 116th in future years, which will mean all of State will be 5 lanes eventually. But this is the toughest part with that bridge by Fred Meyer there. And we've got the construction money for that. And Jeff and his team and Kevin will be plugging away at that here in 2019. The council's funded more pavement preservation projects through the Transportation Benefit District that I referred to earlier. And we've got some great downtown stormwater treatment projects and a wastewater treatment plant headworks retrofit, which may not sound glamorous, but that headworks retrofit means that we're not all the stuff that gets flushed, for lack of a better word, that shouldn't. This will help siphon that out so that we're not ruining our system or taking it out and having to deal with repairs and things of that nature. So it's important to have that. So we begin to wrap up. I want to get to the play part, and that's our Parks, Culture, and Recreation. Oh, I neglected the Sunnyside Trail extension, which is essentially a Parks, Culture, and Recreation. Has anybody walked the EB Trail? Great, a lot of you have. One of my favorite trails in the community. I got to go out there just because it was by Public Works several years ago, and it was almost when you went out there like, wow, why don't we have access to this? It's beautiful with the water and the wildlife out there and all that, but if you didn't have a boat, you probably weren't accessing it. So now with the EB Waterfront Trail, you can walk out there and enjoy kind of a real nature preserve in Marysville with a waterway and a nice trail. So we want to extend that trail with phase 2 and 3. Phase 2 is this access off of Sunnyside. And so you'll see that become a reality. You're probably seeing the work happen right now. That'll open later this year. Along with that, we have Olympic View Park, which will be a new trailhead for this area, which we expect to complete this year as well. So look for that. We got a $500,000 grant from the state for that. We got $1 million state grant for the EB Waterfront Trail. So when I talk to you about all these state grants, we try to take your tax dollars and leverage them for millions more from the state. Our staff and everybody's really good at making that happen. On the west side is the kind of the boat launch and park area. We have a vision for that as well, to eventually become some form of a park with some city investment, and we hope to get private investment in there as well. Maybe it's in the form of some townhomes with businesses on the bottom, or retail, restaurants, or something like that. That'll be down the road a little bit. But we are doing design work. Our team's going to get to 30% design here so that we can at least get that started. As we put some public investment in, we believe the private investment will come. One of my other favorite trails, I don't know if you guys have walked the Bayview Trail, but Bayview provides some beautiful views of our city and beyond. And we've got phase 1 and phase 2 of Bayview in, so it goes from 528 all the way to Getchell to 84th. But we got a $1 million grant last year from the state that will allow us to connect that to Centennial Trail. So we'll go further north, and you will have access as a Marysville resident to now, from within our city, get to Centennial, which opens up a whole new world of possibilities for recreation for our community. So we're very excited about that coming in 2019 as well. And some other highlights, so I just you'll just see some stats up here on all the work from the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department. First of all, our Cedar Crest Golf Course. The council members and I know what a challenge golf has been over the last several years, just a declining industry. Well, our golf course is still a treasure in the community, and even if we don't want to do this, but even if we wanted to get out of the golf business, we can't. That can't be used for, well, it'd have to become a passive park where it would bring in no revenue. So we've really worked hard, the city council and staff, and Jim and his staff, how do we turn this into something that's at least net neutral? Well, we brought a team in called Premier Golf, because we're not real great at the golf business. We don't know the golf business. Premier Golf knows how to run it. And they have increased last year, or in 2018, a 24% increase in rounds over 2017. So over 36,000 rounds. So our course is one of the more healthy courses now in the county. And our Parks Culture Recreation team deserves a lot of credit for that, as does Premier Golf. So excited about that. 5,000 people attended our summer concerts and movies in this opera house that I told you about, 4,700 people. And we'll probably see even more this year. And one of our great newer events, it's been going now for 4 or 5 years, is the Holiday Tour of Lights. If you've had a chance to attend that, it grows each year. And we had almost 4,000 people visit, and that was even with a couple nights of windstorms where we weren't able to do it. So that's a great addition to your Christmas schedule. If you've never been, include a trip there. And then there's some stats on our youth sports camps and youth sports teams. And then also want to always give a shout out. We talked about the MVP volunteer team earlier. Volunteers as a whole are really something that this community is blessed with. We have a load of people that volunteer a ton of hours in our community and make a lot of things happen that wouldn't otherwise. So this stat kind of appreciates that with over 2,000 hours. And that doesn't count the stuff that goes on for the Y and the school district and the Boys and Girls Club and others. These are just folks stepping up in parks projects and things of that nature. So we really appreciate that. And I'll close with this. We want to thank you all for passing the measure that was on the ballot this past August to fund a new public safety building. That will house our public safety jail and courts. And it was really critical. You know, our current public safety building was built in the 1980s, early to mid 1980s. Similar, it was a citizen-passed initiative. That was paid off, and the money came off the tax rolls about 2 to 3 years ago. But as you can imagine, in 1984, 85, our police department in our city looked much different than it does today. So that building, if you've been in it, is way outdated. I think we've got some folks working out of closets. There's just not enough room for our police force in the building. It's just that simple. And then you've got a jail that is way outdated. I mentioned to you how many people we put in jail this year. It's not that we want to keep putting people in jail, but we also don't want to leave them out on the streets. Communities that don't have jails often just catch and release on misdemeanors, which means that you become a target as a community, which people know, hey, these guys don't have a jail. You can go rob a store and take some shoes or whatever, and as long as it's not serious, they're not going to put you in jail because they don't have one and they don't have the money or the time to take you off to another one for small crimes like that. We don't do that in this community. You commit a crime in Marysville, you go to our jail, and so we're not a target in that way. And that's important, and by you as citizens funding this, we'll be able to continue doing that even as our community grows. So the great thing about this is kind of the vision is at the Comfort Park area is to have a new civic campus. So we're for sure going to build the public safety building. That's what you all voted for and funded. We believe that we can also consolidate a lot of our other services. We have a court building, a city hall building, and some others. So we can sell those off, and with money that the council's diligently put away in a capital reserve fund over several years, as well as some other measures. If the bids come in right, we'll be able to turn this into an entire civic campus. We'll kind of have a one-stop shop for your city services. So we're a little concerned about the bid environment right now with the economy the way it is. Bids are, I know for private industry and others, bids are coming in a lot higher than they were a few years ago. So we're going to go out to bid with that idea here in May or June, and we'll see what comes back. And I'm pretty confident that we'll be able, well, we will move forward with the public safety building that you voted for. And I believe we'll be able to hopefully move forward with some form of a civic campus as well. I know the council and I are really excited about that possibility, whether it's on this first phase or at a phase in the future. So with that, I really appreciate you all coming out. I hope this was informative, gave you an idea of what we accomplished in 2018, what's coming. We're also here to say too that we think there's a lot of exciting things happening in Marysville. A lot of exciting plans. This is a great time to work at the City of Marysville. It's a great time to live here, a great time to be part of a growing, thriving community that people are looking at and going, wow, what's going on there? Doesn't mean we don't have problems. I always like to say, we don't have our head in the sand. If there's issues that come up, we want to address them. I'll give you one example. I had a lady email me about 2 months ago that said, hey, I'm low income and disabled, and your utility billing situation uses a threshold of income that is far lower than any other community. Most communities use the HUD threshold, which I think was 30 or 40% higher. And she said, hey, and she had done the research and she had it all out, what all the different cities did. This is what they did, and then this is what Marysville did. And so looked at that and thought, well, no, we don't want to be, if somebody's in that situation, we want to be giving them the same threshold other communities are, or close to it. Took that to the council. They took a look at it and agreed and voted unanimously. Just about 3 weeks ago, the council voted unanimously to raise that threshold to the HUD level. So depending on household size, it varies in the income. But the bottom line is now those that are low income and disabled will be able to access a discounted utility rate commensurate with other cities in our community. The reason I bring that up is to say that we don't have it all down pat. We haven't thought of everything. We don't know everything. So if a citizen comes forward with an idea, especially when there's some research done, the council and I will take a look at it. City staff will take a look at it. If it makes sense, we're ready to do it. We live here just like you do. We pay the same taxes you do. We live in this community. We utilize all the services you do. So that's the difference between local government and Washington, D.C., right? Or even Olympia. All the problems you have, we share it. We're right in the trenches with you, and so we want to solve them. And so we don't have it all figured out. So there's sometimes we get ideas and we look at them and go, here's why that maybe can't be done. But there's other times where it can. So we're all in this together. I thank you as this is such a wonderful community to serve. I know the council says the same thing, and our staff and I as mayor are just so proud of this community, and I just love being a part of it. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. Next question.